I'm John Millsfield. It is my pleasure to introduce my lifelong friend and confidant, Greg Orfalea, who will be reading some passages from his newly published novel, Wonder and Shame. It is a night of celebration, culminating years of research, writing, editing, soliciting agents and publishers, and angst. Greg is a lifelong writer. This is what he does. From editing the high school newspaper to awards for his writing at Georgetown University, to conducting writing and literature courses at Georgetown, the Claremont Colleges, and locally here at Westmont. He has published historical works, Journey to the Sun, Juniper Rosero's Dream in the Founding of California, Messengers of the Lost Battalion, the heroic 551st and the Turning of the Tide at the Battle of the Bulge. This has special importance to Greg, as that was his father's battalion in World War II. The Arab Americans, a History. Angelino Days, a collection of memoirs. His short fiction has been collected and published in The Man Who Guarded the Bomb. A collection of Greg's poems is published in The Capital of Solitude. His essays have appeared in, amongst others, The Atlantic, The Washington Post, The Los Angeles Times, and The Los Angeles Times Magazine. Wonder and Shame is Greg's first published novel, and it is good. I was blessed enough to have been asked by the author for my inputs in the early edits. Without further ado, here's my friend, the author of Wonder and Shame, Greg Orfalea.
I hope that I am not for the killing. Anselmo was thinking. I think that after the war there will have to be some great penance done for the killing. If we no longer have religion after the war, then I think there must be some form of civic penance organized, that all may be cleansed from the killing, or else we will never have a true and human basis for living. I would like to talk to the Inglés about it, but being young, it's possible he might not understand. He must have killed much, but he shows no signs of liking it. In those who like it, there's always a rottenness. Ernest Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Prologue. I am 17, but life made me an old man. They call me Madge, but my name is Majid. I come from a small farming village outside Damascus called Arbin. It sounds like Arbin in American English, but it looks like Arbin. Arbin. It is and was at the same time, which is true. It's not there anymore. What is recounted here happened some time ago in a faraway place when I was a boy. In minutes, I had lost my family. A barrel bomb fell on the roof of my dreams. I was eager in those days, but what I knew as enemy or friend was going to change place more than once. And fast. It certainly did that bad day. For a long time when I dreamed, I shivered. I lived out in the weather, a burned out tank, and later in a tent. The sky, the roof, was blue nylon. No walls, no mother cooking, no enemy but the rain and hunger, no family but my hopeless team. Yet, home grew out of nothing. Nature abhors a vacuum, and a catcher especially. Of the English sayings I have learned, that's the one I like best. This story may have begun in the country I lost, but it really hatched in a refugee camp in Turkey. Someone I could lean on came out of a tent. His name was Frank Matter. And with him, I stepped into a dream. I didn't even know how to dream about something I didn't even know existed.
Wow.
The polar route. Could you throw yourself away? Frank Matter wondered as he mounted the tinny, movable stairs to the Air France plane that would arch over the North Pole from Los Angeles to Paris and then on to the land of his ancestors in Syria. Yourself. He reached the landing and looked down through the trembling white grill. Was this a minute earthquake, the stair not grounded, or his own strange sense he was out of his body, if not his mind? This was certainly not the chemical attack on their village. His life had been spared that in the States. Nevertheless, he was 60 years old. One step forward, and he would be in another life, of the sky of his dreams lost and found, his fears of a wasted life pulsing, of pain seeking those in greater pain, meaning love. There were 60,000 homeless people in Los Angeles, the city of his birth. But after 6 years of civil war in Syria, 11 million people, half the country, were made homeless or refugees, and 500,000 were killed. And by 2016, there was no end in sight. The international community had washed its hands of the impossibly complicated tangle of antagonists and let the slaughter happen. What use could any one person, any one ambassador, any one country, or even the whole damn world be? Between the plane's skin and the ladder yawned a gap into which his foot might lodge, but Frank Matter took the step over the gap and in, and they closed the door. The flight attendant in her red scarf and blue bellhop hat flickered briefly and went out. Fast it was dark. Be calm, the intercom advised. Just a temporary outage of electricity. Should be back in a moment. And all were sitting but Frank Matter. The disorientation of the outage shook him back to a month before when he began thinking of going to Syria to do something. He wasn't sure yet just what, but he was beginning to think about it. He and his mother, Mary Rose, were watching opening day of the 2016 baseball season at Dodger Stadium. April 12th, when the game began in complete silence. Frank had found it very strange, even frightening. For the first time since he was a little boy, Vin Scully was not there. The 89-year-old was just beginning his last year, his 67th as an announcer for the Dodgers in Brooklyn and Los Angeles, and he was absent. Vin nodded his mic. Was God in his heaven? Frank Matter groped in the dark along the plane's carpeted wall. The engine started up in a growl. Frank felt as if the floor had pulled up and surrounded him. The ceiling vibrated. He remembered as he heard the innards of the plane tick. Only the sound of the ball hitting leather on opening day, and then plunking Gene Segura in the ribs. The low moo of the crowd. No commentary. A far whistle. The faint call of someone with peanuts here, peanuts. But no Vin. No wine. The Burroughs house was hot. Frank remembered it often this way. It was 90 degrees outside. He went to the air conditioner and heard it come to life, not unlike the turbines of a plane. Suddenly he had heard Mary Rose ticking her way with her walker like a sand-filled clock. He almost collided with her at the entrance to Candy's bedroom. I should have told you, Candy is Frank's sister who has died of her own hand. I should have mentioned that. Mom, I have your cock. What are you going? I mean, it's good you get exercise, but... She looked up at him, surprised at the apparition of her oldest son. Oh, all right, she said. Slowly she did a turn and ticked back to her wheelchair. Frank put the cock in a small porcelain plate down on the bookshelf and helped her settle in. Ah, hey. She purred after the pedals came under her feet, and she leaned back. A word impossible to translate. It is not nice or wonderful or lovely. Hey conveys complete and unexpected relief. Maybe this is what happens with a language with roots older than English, a language that has borne every bloody conflict known to man and never expects anything but conflict. Frank thought, and it wasn't a stereotype, it was a tribute to Hey. Soon they were watching the news and a report on the latest massacre in Syria. I watched this all night too, she said, shaking her head. Try baseball. Well, I'm trying it now. She pressed the buttons for the Dodger game. No, I mean when you're sleepless, go through the whole Dodgers lineup, top to bottom. And consider who else could play and what you might change and how you juggle the pitching rotation. You're kidding me. Been doing it for years, puts me out cold. I wish I had your faith. It's not faith. Probably a dodge. They're called the Dodgers, you know. She smiled, punching the button during a commercial break. Commercial back to the news. From the television, the words factories, shameful, jabs punctuated the air. Please, the game, Frank said. Mary Rose's eyes began to list and flutter as the first game of 2016 wound down. In the bottom of the eighth, the muscular Snakes first baseman Paul Goldschmidt followed Nick Ahmed's home run with a towering one of his own. Jew and Arab conjoined in the Arizona desert to take the lead. Talk about throwing a lamb chop to a lion, Vin Scully meditated. on the fastball right down the center of the plate thrown by Dodger reliever Lewis Coleman. His mother was now asleep in her chair, snoring softly. But the phone rang. The number flashed up on the screen. The area code was 626 from Pasadena. Mary Rose's eyes opened. "It's your cousin, Hanan." She angled her arm over to the little table and answered. "Is that you, honey?" Mother asked. "Keep Suktik. What do you mean, destroyed? Quick, Frank, put on the news." Frank changed the channel back. The scene was white light and dust. A dust-covered body, blood powdered with dirt out the mouth. Shrieking, then silence. No one was narrating. Suddenly, Mother pressed the speaker button, phone button, and Frank heard his cousin Hanan crying out, "Arbeen! They've attacked Arbeen with chemicals!" Mary Rose Matter's eyes flew wide, her forehead crunched in hieroglyphics of pain. "My God, what can we do?" Mother looked back at her eldest son in despair. "I don't know," Frank said. "All I know is there's a game tomorrow." And in that moment, baseball seemed nothing and everything. Well, I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to let the book talk for itself. I got 2 more pieces here. And after that, I'm happy to answer your questions about the book and how it started, and why it exists at all. This is going to be difficult for me, but I think it's going to be just as difficult for you. I'm going to try and read first page or 2 or 3 of a character in the book who's critical to it. Her name is Daisy, and Daisy is a deaf-mute woman, very beautiful, very set upon in Syria of the book. She's a cousin of Frank's, who he knew when he was young, and he was in love with her. But he was young and she was young. She goes back to Syria for decades and darns the holes in the uniforms of the army and in the non-uniforms, the civvies of the rebels. So she's a master seamstress who's, sewing up the damaged clothes of everyone. She's an important character, I think, in the book. My agent said her favorite 3 characters were Major Mej, who is a deserter from the Syrian army. He's nicknamed after the Arabic word for Mejdub, which means idiot. He's Major Idiot, Major Mej. My agent thought Major Mej was the actual protagonist of the book. She loved her. A woman named, a character named Greta Johansson, with whom Frank has an affair, and Daisy, this woman. She speaks in a stream of consciousness, so bear with me. I'll try my best. Not easy to do with a woman character by a man. Maybe impertinent. Daisy swept up. "I love the morning. I love the way the sun touches the nose of the tank. But better the nose of Frank. And the yellow wildflowers on the hillock as we leave town. I was so happy we were leaving to Beirut. Hind is there, and all my nieces and nephews. I read Yusuf's lips easily as love and joy make you read everything easily and happily. And from there, Frank was going to take me to join Mama and active, away from all this sewing and blood and these smelly men whom I helped, but not that way. No more. No more. not for a cake of ice, nor for a generator or lamp. I am not giving myself away ever again, unless it is to Atif. Would Frank bring me back to America? Many of the soldiers waved to me as we passed, but who wants to be known? I want to be loved and to love, and that is all. Known as a leaf in the wind in a taxi, this driver is a good man, Stefan. With every kind of religious knick-knack on his mirror, smart man, but I don't care about smart so much as how he drives, and he drives well, fast, when needed, slow, when needed. The back seat is for Frank and me. We hold hands. I kiss his knuckles. Do not fight. Hit no one. I saw the leaves falling in summer. That means a bomb. I saw the soldiers running, the soldier frantic, pointing down another road. No, no, he called out. It's easy to read lips that are afraid or angry or in love. Yusuf asked Stefan what he thought, and Stefan just shook his head. There they were, bloom, smoke lilies, twinings of black. I would take my needle to that rip in the sky if it were long enough and I were strong enough. Is there a person strong enough on this earth to stop this madness? So we are not going to Beirut. We are headed north. Frank asks Yusuf if he wants to go back. We can't. Our visas will run out tomorrow. If we get held up, they will arrest us. I do not know about visas. I know I have my passport, just in case it is old, but I sleep with it at night under my pillow. Now I have been given up. I have given up my pillow for the road. They put us each in a locked room. I'm jumping a bit. They get arrested on the way fleeing north toward Turkey, and they're arrested by the regime. They put us each in a locked room with bars on a window. I was in the middle room. When I heard the vibration, I went to the back of my little perch with no bed, only a thrown blanket made of coarse wool, and it was summer. So the blanket was torture. Maybe this is what makes a saint, but I didn't want to be a saint. I only wanted to be free. Free of the war, free of my pathetic life sewing all these holes, like emptying the sea into a hole in the sand, one bucket at a time. Expecting you will finally see the sea bottom or fill the hole right. The vibration comes through the floor. I feel it with my feet as I took my sandals off. That's how I communicate. Hands, feet, eyes. It was the scraping of a metal chair. And then when I followed the vibration back to the perch, I saw it, a hole, a slit in the wall. At the scene, we seamstresses know what seams like, what seams are like. We know a person. There was Frank in a little perch like mine with a man with no uniform pacing. Frank is in the middle of the room on his chair, and the man going around him little by little, asking questions or mouthing off. You can really tell who is mouthing off by their mouths. I can't tell what he's saying. Most of his going around and round. But I can see Frank's lips, and he is biting them, and he is shaking his head no, and saying, that is not me, no, I wouldn't do that. And then he is switching in English, which when he says it is true, Frank is not a liar. He would not lie. I think even if it were meant saving his life, the man comes around and I see him say in English, this Syrian is a smart one. We know you're American. We found your other passport, Salim Bustani, indeed. Frank Matter. Which is it, Frank? Or who are you? And Frank said, I am an American. I came here to take my cousin Daisy away from the fighting so she would not be violated anymore by everyone and everything. And it made me cry. I filled the slit with my crying so that I could not see what was happening to Frank, but quickly I pushed my tears back in my head and kept attentive to his suffering. Forcing your way in is not good, Mr. Matter. Why is Yusuf Arbili with you? He's handing out money like water. He loves his family. He's trying to help to protect me. From what? For what? From people like you, I suppose. Well, it just so happens that people like me are all that's left between life and death for people like you. So don't insult me. He is shouting, this man with his open black shirt, and Yusuf Arbili, who left this country long ago as a coward, while we are left here fighting for the pluralism you say you value, can do nothing for you. Maybe he is doing the damage. No, Yusuf is doing no wrong. He would like to rebuild Arbid, that is all. And you? I want to take my cousin Daisy to Turkey to be with her mother and cousins. That is all. Do you have other plans? That is all. Well, we will see about that. The man goes stalking out of the little perch, and I call to Frank, and he sees me. I put my hand, half of my hand, through the slit, and he holds it. We are like two birds. Our beaks are our fingertips. There is a slit on the other side of the room to the next room, but it is dark in the night as we sleep. I hear someone there, and it's Yusuf. I can tell he's snoring. We are all sleeping on the floor with walls between us. Frank snores, but not as loud. And I bunch this coarse wool for my pillow, and I sleep from all the excitement well, because I am near those I love. I see the dawn. This is almost done, this passage. I see at the dawn a little box of light with a screen high up the back wall, and we are given a little water, and old bread, and a touch of egg. That's nice of them. Perhaps they are not so bad. They open the door and take me a bunch of ripped uniforms with my sewing kit and tell me to get to work. I ask, how is Frank? How is Yusuf? But they do not answer me. Please, let us go. I cry. My Arabic is so bad with my tongue the way it is. Now comes the same man questioning Frank. He wants to know why Frank is watching baseball. Some sport he doesn't know. Is there a secret code? Is that it? Frank laughs. No. He says, it's just something I love. You take what you love everywhere. And for a while, the man in the black shirt with the little hair at his chest exposed is nicer. He talks a lot about soccer. I shift in the slit to see more as he makes his rounds with his merry way. And it's phony, but it's phony. I have learned a lot about men and their phoniness ever since that soldier pulled me out of the boat at Latakia. 10 bad for 1 good. And just as I hope, this is the one good 1 in 10. He pulls out a cigarette and lights it and gives it to Frank to smoke. And he does. And then he takes it from Frank's mouth, and someone else pulls off Frank's shirt, and the man asks his questions again and tells him the problem with you is you don't listen. Each word pulled out like the Bible, something on high. The man's face is shaking, as if you were touching a bad outlet. And Frank says, I don't know what I can do anymore to tell you more than the truth. The truth is the truth. I am here to redeem the past, my cowardice, and to save my cousin and from being defiled. What else do you want to know? And the man comes around, presses the cigarette into Frank's back, and I see the veins on his neck stand up. Well, almost done. Frank and does get let out by some miracle from incarceration with Daisy. Yusuf doesn't make it. And Frank and Daisy escape with the taxi driver north, and they end up in eastern Turkey in the largest refugee camp in the world, which, by the way, is accurate. There is 500,000 mostly Syrian refugees, some Afghan, in a refugee camp in eastern Turkey near the town of Urfa. And little by little, he notices a lot of orphans running around in the camp, and he decides to try and teach them baseball. And he starts recruiting. There's a lot that, of course, I can't read, but there's a lot of impeding things that happen, not the least of which is, they don't know what he's talking about. It's soccer. It's the reigning sport. And we go through that, getting to understand why soccer, why not baseball, why baseball, why not soccer. But this little incident here, short one, is the tryout of a girl for third base. And it's called Girl in Burqa at Hot Corner. Slowly, a few peeled off from soccer in the outfield. Get me third base fast. Majid ran off and back with the white pillow with its shank. All watched Frank pound the last base into place in the hard Turkish earth. All right, tryouts for third base. Third baseman, he yelled, motioning the soccer children off the line of the base to take grounders. He distributed fielder's gloves to all. There were 5 kids in line. He looked over and saw a Muslim mother in black burqa, walking with her daughter, also in burqa, both of them menacing looking because of the slits at their eyes. He figured in a quick second they were refugees from Raqqa and ISIS. They might see him as devil as easily as savior, and he would not know which. Then he hobbled on his crutches back to home plate where Majid stood, shooing flies from his shawarma-studded face. Wipe your face, for God's sake, Majid. Frank threw him a handkerchief. Frank loved handkerchiefs. He kept his pockets stuffed with them. Frank looked up, ready with ball in one hand, bat in the other. Then he began. It was a disaster. The first boy had the ball kick up and hit him in the nuts, and he went off crying. The second boy dove in the dust, and the ball was more pushed than caught. The boy chasing after it and throwing his mitt at the ball. You can't do that, Frank yelled. How am I supposed to stop it? The boy yelled back. With your glove on your hand. Get back in line. The next fellow, whose face scar was so deep you could see it from home plate, actually caught the ball with his bare hand, smiling. Not bad. Better to catch it with the glove. Otherwise you will injure your hand Go back of the line and try again. Another fellow waved at the grounder as it passed. He was too slow. Another gave in to what Frank called the Syrian default, that is, thrusting the ankle at the baseball to stop it. Pretty ingenious when it worked, which was not often. Frank bent to get a ball Madgett had tossed him. When he looked up at the last new recruit, he was startled. It was the girl with the slit-eyed burqa. She had borrowed the last player's glove and stood there smacking the pocket with her hand, bent over, imitating Fuad at shortstop. Quickly, Frank looked over at the mother, who was standing off third base. He couldn't tell if she was smiling or scowling. But clearly, she had let her child get in line. Why? Maybe even fundamentalists get bored, Frank mused, especially in a refugee camp. He could hear the boys in line complaining about a girl trying out. It was rare enough in America to see a girl try out for a boy-dominated team, but in Turkey, this was tantamount to a mirage. Frank thought he should just tell her the team was for boys only and get on with it. He didn't want a civil war before he even had a team. What struck him immediately is the fate of the rebels in Syria. Surely that was something the mother could understand. He paused, though, waiting for the mother to do the deed of removal. But she didn't move. She was watching, at least as much as he could tell. Maybe she was asleep standing. The girl in black bent to take the grounder. She took a bad hop with quick adjustment and snagged the ball before it ran past the bag. Exactly the play of an expert third baseman. She threw to first with strength and accuracy. Khalil showed the ball and nodded. Then she turned to take her place in back of the line. "Wait," Frank called. "Stay right there and take some more." The shape of the girl, even in her black garb, was hefty. Yet she moved like a large cat, a sort of lynx in black. Nothing got by her. She made the hot corner cool. Or rather, cooled the hot corner. Frank watched, amazed. Most of the other boys, seeing he had picked a girl, and that girl yet, melted away. A child of ISIS was despised by just about everyone in the camp. The hot corner indeed, thought Frank, smiling to himself as he motioned her to now consider third base her own Rosetta Stone. Watching the young woman in black linger near the white, flat bag, Frank thought of his sister, Candy, wearing a black nothing at one of the cattle calls where he had come along to support her, and the director making fun of her as she had missed a cue and would not get the part. Candy had left the stage in tears. "Can you stay a little longer?" Frank called out as the two in black turned to walk away. The mother pivoted her head and nodded. The girl also nodded. He could not see the girl or her mother smile as they looked down on the empty quarter. He had to imagine it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Luke. It's so wonderful to see so many family and friends, former colleagues. I mean, I could name 3/4. Father Dan, how wonderful to see you. I wish I'd left more time but we do have about 15 minutes for question and answers.
Yeah, we got a few minutes.
We got some time, so shoot away. Jeffrey.
Apart from your obvious adoration of baseball, what why baseball in the context of the story? What gravity does it provide to what you're trying to convey?
Good question. I don't know if I've ever asked myself that. You know, I'm going to answer that question, or try to, Jeff, but I should say, in preface, this is the first book I have ever written without an outline. I've written published 11 books, probably written 15. So in some ways, it just happened. But a more serious, and by the way, to me, that's the way to write a novel. I mean, maybe I write the nonfiction with copious outline and, you know, subcategories, little a, little b. But I thought it gave me a strange freedom when I was writing this novel to not know where I was going. Baseball came into it, I think, partly because our family are old baseball nuts. The whole family. Ask my son Andy Cook. He's one himself. Luke too. But my father took me to baseball when I was a very young boy. I was probably around, well, let's see, it was the World Series of '59-10. I saw the first World Series game west of the Mississippi River ever played. There were 95,000 people at the Coliseum. And, you know, it was a football field that was jury rigged to be baseball for the Dodgers when they came out west from Brooklyn. And my dad, I know, sort of a beatific moment. My father, who I loved so much, in batting practice, he put his hand down to a line drive from Carl Farrell. And, you know, the reading rifle Farrell used to be called. And the ball hit the hand, bounced off, and this little 5-year-old kid picked up. But just to see that and remembering my dad's stung hand and me kissing it, there's sort of a sacramental feeling about baseball. I played it. I actually didn't play it as much as I should have or wanted to. It's actually, I think, better at it than basketball, but I ended up playing basketball. That scene with Vin Scully not being there at the start of the 2016 season, did anybody remember that from that first game? It's true. He was not at the mic. It was very strange. And of course, I'm playing with emptiness, absence of something good in the plot and the theme. But you know, that I grew up with Vinny and holding him to my ear at night, you know, the little grill that you'd have imprinted in your cheek when you woke up in the morning. He was someone I just idolized, and I mentioned the fact that the whole book is fiction, except for Vince Scully. Yeah, Paul.
What prompted you with the idea?
What was the what?
Well,
okay.
Going back 10 years, maybe.
I actually have a good, I think, at least it's a reasonable answer to that. In 2016 or maybe 2015, Paul, I was assigned by the LA Times to go to Syria. And I would have been the first journalist, American journalist, in Syria since the Civil War had started. They were not letting anybody in from the west or east. I mean, they sealed the country off while the butchery went on. So the war started in 2011. This is 2016. So for 5 years, no one was reporting on the war, which was another reason nobody helped. I think it was just, journalists are important to the documentation of atrocity. And I got this assignment from Column 1 editor Steve Padilla at the LA Times. God bless Steve, he was driving up here from LA back. He couldn't make it today. So we went through all the processes to go. I got a $10,000 stipend from the Pulitzer Center for Crisis Reporting. They were really interested in what I was going to find, because I was going to go to Arvin and take a look at our ancestral village after the chemical weapons attack. At the last moment, the government got a hold of Steve and said, "Where's Orfalea? Why isn't he here?" And Steve said, well, he's getting ready and he's going to get his tickets. He's got his ticket. We have a Pulitzer Prize winning photographer going with him. Marcus Yam was coming with me. Great photographer, world renowned. And they wrote back and said, too late. Visa's expired. And I thought, what? What it was, Paul, 12/2/2016 looked like to us December 2nd. But to Europeans and Syrians, it was February 12th, and we were already in March. It was expired. And poor Steve, he felt so bad. He says, I'm going to jump off the top of the building. I'll never forget that. I said, don't do that. You know, I'd like to publish again with you. So all this to say that, what did I do? I turned to this little fiction that had just pouted to life. You know, I had maybe a chapter. And I thought, in retrospect, I think that was a failure that was good to happen. Because if I had gotten that, you know, egotistical job, it really, who knows, I probably would have tried to write a nonfiction book about it. And the novel would have died easily. But instead, I poured everything out that I wanted to see or try to see, understand into the novel.
Take
Couple more, two more questions, okay? Gary?
Baseball, you have these orphans at each position. Did these, and I'm sure you had people on the bench who were also assigned to different positions. But when
Yeah.
they're assigned to a position, did this somehow give these orphans a sense of self-esteem and a role model? They had a responsibility, and it gave them some.
I think one of, for me at least, the most meaningful things in the book was to see that happen. And one of the pleasures of writing is that you discover things, at least fiction for me, that you didn't expect to have happen. And what happened was just what you divined, that Syria was shredded as a country. There was no team in Syria. There was no sense of helping each other through the days. It was a mess. Half the country, as I just read, it's true, became homeless or refugees. 11 million people. I mean, even by what's going on with Iran, which, you know, is not, in my opinion, a horrible thing and shouldn't be happening. It's worse by a magnitude, by a factor of 10. So I think, Gary, that yes, they got a lot of self-esteem because most of them had lost their parents or their aunt and uncle or, you know, neighbors. And who knows, they're all over. Syrians are all over the place. I have cousins in Stockholm, in Oslo, and our cousins who came before the war when they knew something was brewing, like George and Nora. They're in Pasadena. We have cousins in Spain. And so I think they clung to each other just strongly. Almost desperately. You'll see it if you do get the book. You'll see that slow stitching and the image of Faisy as the seamstress, who's kind of like the heart of the whole book. That's that stitching, emotional stitching that goes on, that sense that we are each other's. You know, we belong to each other, above and beyond country. Is there? Yes.
Can you say something about the cover and why you choose this wonder and shame?
That's a great question. Cover first. God, we fought over this cover. I mean, when we, the publisher and I, and the agent too, but mostly the publisher and I, there was a 3-layered abstract that was kind of the one that was gaining momentum. It was blue, white, black, you know. And I actually liked it. I kind of liked its amorphous quality, but because someone told me, oh, I don't know if I want this on my bedstand. It's so disturbing. And then at the last moment, somebody said, I can't even remember, was it me? somebody, might have been the editor, splashed some color in it. So they splashed that aqua there, and they splashed a little bit of this orange red, fire engine red, and that really made it happen. Because otherwise, it was just like a newsreel, and almost too stark. And the second part of the question was, why is it wonder and shame? Well, since I see a lot of our people from my home parish, especially Father Dan being here, so blessed to have that, Frank. I'll tell you the story about the plus sign. One day I was working at my computer, and I saw this plus sign in the upper right-hand corner of a blank screen. And what the heck is that doing there? I didn't write it. And why is it all the way up there? So I went up to delete it, and it wouldn't delete. It didn't delete. And I thought, wow, what's going on here? What is that sign that it won't go away? Well, ultimately it did go away when I shut the computer down for the night. But I got to thinking of it, and I thought, I think I'll make it the substitute for and. And indeed, you will see this when you read the book, I hope. It's a book about faith. It's a book about faith for people like me who doubt it, question it, lose it, recapture it. And so, when you see a plus sign, it's more than a plus sign. Thank you.
Greg, thank you very much.